On the program today, we focus on the Endsars protest in Nigeria. Key to it is the meeting of Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, with the diplomatic community in Nigeria, given the concerns about developments around the Endsars protest. But first, let's recall a few tips with this report put together by Mia Ogidi.
SARS became a sad tale to many. Set up to protect the citizens, but later turned out to be a terror of some sort. And complaints from different quarters became worrisome. So, on the 10th of October 2020, the President had a moment with the Inspector General of Police on measures to reform the Nigerian police force. The content of the meeting later tweeted by the President, and he said, "I am being briefed by the Inspector General of Police on the ongoing reform efforts to end police brutality and unethical conduct towards ensuring that the police are fully accountable to the citizens. I instructed the IG of Police to conclusively address the concerns of Nigerians regarding excesses and ensure erring personnel are brought to justice."
Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations.
Less than 24 hours from that meeting, SARS now rests in peace, and 2 police officers involved in human rights abuses arrested in Lagos, with new policy direction announced.
And Strategic Holders Forum will be formed to regularly interface with the leadership of the police at all levels and advise on police activities.
Though it was the launch of the Presidential Youth Empowerment Scheme at the Presidential Villa, but the President was still preoccupied with the protest out there.
The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reform in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihoods of our people. We will also ensure that all those responsible for misconduct or wrongful acts are brought to justice.
The protesters presented 5-point demand, including release of arrested protesters, justice for deceased victims, setting up of panel of inquiry, and increase in police salary. And the Presidential Panel on SARS reforms obliged.
Requested the Inspector General of Police to present a 5-year plan, comprehensive plan, a strategic plan of action aimed at achieving the total transformation of the Nigeria Police Force as promised by His Excellency, Mr. President.
It is a long list of efforts and negotiations, but a common ground is yet to be reached. Let's talk to each other for the peace of the nation, is what many advised at this point. Mia Ogidi.
Besides meeting with the leadership of the National Assembly, the President summoned the Minister of Youth and Sports Development on the matter.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, was summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari in furtherance of his strategic engagement with critical stakeholders towards finding lasting solutions to the Endsars protest, which has gone violent in parts of the country. It was an opportunity for the minister to not only bring to the fore the demands and desire of the protesting youth for police reforms, but most importantly, appreciate the president for promptly responding to such agitations.
Mr. President said the youth of this country have spoken, and he has heard, and he has since gone to work for the youth of our country, not just as a president, but even as a father of the younger generation. And his desire is that they are well protected, that they live in a country where they enjoy their freedoms, and they do not suffer from any form of police brutality. The President promised that he will ensure that the reforms, as promised, are long-lasting, and that the reforms will deliver for our country a police force that we will be proud of.
The president, who described the youth as a great resource to the country, formally appreciated them for bringing the issue of police brutality to the fore through their peaceful protest and promised to ensure that they are no longer profiled but celebrated as the nation's future lies in their hands.
Mr. President made an appeal to the Nigerian youth that these protests, wherever held, should be done in a peaceful manner. The Nigerian youth should be on their guard to make sure that elements that will infiltrate and distract them from the very purpose of their protest should be prevented from doing so. That a consideration is given for moving this protest from protest to action. Some of these demands will take time. There are processes that must take place. We live in a constitutional democracy. These processes cannot be usurped or bypassed. It must take time. Government has gone to work, and I think that by having a monitoring team, we can have the youth hold government at all levels accountable, particularly on the demands that have been made and other issues tangential to their aspirations.
The minister's engagement with President Muhammadu Buhari was held behind closed doors. From the State House, Adamu Sambu.
It appears now that the riots are taking a different dimension, an unwanted dimension, and Mr. President is very, very concerned about this development and does not want a situation in which everything breaks down and results in anarchy, in lawlessness, and people taking the law into their own hands. So far, the government has been able to concede to the demands of the protesters. Then it also is logical for the protesters, for those that are aggrieved also, to take a step back, take stock of their activities, and come to a meeting point with government and its agencies. It is not Mr. President's desire to see any unwanted loss of lives, and he is determined to ensure that things do not cascade into an unpleasant situation. Mr. President has directed that government should do whatever is necessary within the confines of legitimacy, within the confines of legality, in order to bring about an agreeable resolution to this crisis. It is extremely important for the youth to understand that if the atmosphere is not conducive for dialogue and for understanding, we can't have any peaceful resolution. The security agencies have been asked to apply as much restraint as possible, but then again, the youth should also understand that sometimes pushing their luck might also result in unwanted issues. So it is very, very important for everyone to take stock of what has already happened and not give a dark impression of this country to the international community.
The choice to demonstrate peacefully is a fundamental right of citizens.
This right to protest, President Muhammadu Buhari, however, emphasized, also imposes on the demonstrators the responsibility to respect the rights of other citizens and the necessity to operate within the law. As a democratic government, he said the federal government listened to and carefully evaluated the 5 points demand of the protesters, as a result of which SARS was immediately scrapped and measures put in place towards addressing the other demands.
The promptness with which we have acted seem to have been misconstrued as a sign of weakness and twisted by some for their selfish, unpatriotic interests. The result of this is clear to all observers. Human lives have been lost, acts of sexual violence have been reported, 2 major correctional facilities were attacked and convicts freed, public and private properties completely destroyed or vandalized, the sanctity of the palace of a peacemaker, the Oba of Lagos, has been violated.
President Buhari described as painful that these acts of lawlessness were executed in the name of Endsars protests, saying there's no way whatsoever to connect these bad acts to legitimate expression of grievance of the nation's youth.
The spreading of deliberate falsehood and misinformation through the social media in particular, that this government is oblivious to the pains and plight of the citizens is a ploy to mislead the unwary within and outside Nigeria into unfair judgment and disruptive behavior. On the contrary, both our deeds and words have shown how committed this administration has been to the well-being and welfare of citizens, even with the steadily dwindling revenues and the added responsibilities and restrictions due to the coronavirus pandemic. No Nigerian government in the past has methodically and seriously approached poverty alleviation like we have done.
While reaffirming federal government's commitment to preserving the unity of the country, the president urged the youth to take the path of honor by ending the street protests, as well as resisting attempts by subversive elements to destabilize the country and truncate democracy.
For you to do otherwise will amount to undermining national security and the law and order situation. Under no circumstances will this be tolerated. This government respects and will continue to respect all the democratic rights and civil liberties of the people, but it will not allow anybody or groups to disrupt the peace of our nation. And I call on all Nigerians to go about their normal businesses.
President Buhari, who enjoined security agencies to protect lives and property of all law-abiding citizens, paid tribute to the police personnel who lost their lives in the line of duty. He also used the opportunity to thank members of the international community for their concern about the ongoing developments in Nigeria, saying, however, that they should seek to know all the facts available before either taking a position, rushing to judgment, or making hasty pronouncements.
At the meeting with the diplomats, Minister of Foreign Affairs expressed worry with the way and manner the movement is being used by some persons with different motives to destabilize the country.
We have also seen that these kinds of movements are open and vulnerable to infiltration by those that might have ulterior motives and other agenda. And the government is also very mindful that to take necessary measures to ensure that the legitimate demands of the youth is in no way compromised by opportunists who have different agenda and motives. And I think this is very important to bear in mind, not just for us as government, but also for the youth who have, and others who have genuine grievances, that this does not happen, and that we do not allow this process, this democratic process, to be hijacked by those who have more sinister motives and intentions. So I will leave that there, because that is the situation, and the government also wants to focus on those clear, very lucid demands that were initially made and address those very quickly. Larger governmental issues and societal issues are being addressed and will be addressed in the normal course of government business. When this government was elected and brought to office, it was to have 4 years in which to address so many issues. And of course, that is an ongoing process. But here we're faced with a very particular issue, a crisis, and we want to address that particular crisis without being distracted also with other things. We embrace Nigerians speaking their mind, and because we as a government are here to serve the people and to listen to the people. And our President Muhammadu Buhari, believes in that and has asked us also to believe and to implement that.
As some would say, the voice of the voiceless. And the government has respected that. It is my intention to appeal to all the youths of Nigeria, both in Nigeria and in the diaspora, to please give peace a chance.
But the concern of the government is that the agitation is transforming to violence.
Protesters are not hindered as long as they do not constitute a danger to other people. Sunday night, the central bank was taken over. It was almost set on fire. We don't see that as part of a peaceful demonstration. The attack on the governor of Osun State that went there to engage them, we don't see that as part of a peaceful organization. So we just want to assure the community that we will continue to obey the rule of law. Democracy will continue to thrive.
It's not part of freedom to break open prison, to burn police stations, to destroy public order, to block roads and cause mayhem.
The diplomatic community are also asking for more engagement with the youth to address issues of their concern.
Yes, and to deal with some of the demands that have been put forward by the protesters, and of course to restrain the willingness to dialogue on all parts.
How we can address the situation by going down to the grassroots level, involving community leaders, who may also have direct access to these young boys and girls, because their contribution can be very effective. At this stage, we are dealing with governmental institutions, very high-handed. But I think it is also important that we try as much as possible to involve the people who live with the youth, who can see them every day, who can talk to them, and ask them to calm down, and then listen to what the government is saying.
The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission also lent a voice while addressing a youth delegation from the diaspora.
The chairman said government has heard the voice of Nigerians on the issue, and she told the youth to embark on the protest with carefulness so as not to destroy the nation's image on the Committee of Nations.
Let's take it as the first stage of the response, and we all monitor as it goes. But the key thing is, no matter what happens, no lives must be lost. In whatever form, there's no reason that should happen. No protester should be molested, and that has been made clear. And let's start with the five-point demand by the youth, which government has accepted wholeheartedly. Now let's monitor how government will be implementing those reforms. Let's monitor how government will be implementing the demands by the Nigerian youth, which I think, like I said, is just the beginning of making sure everything is properly done. And this administration, as in other things, will be the one to hopefully solve these problems that has been with us all our lives.
The delegations appreciated federal government's concern and efforts towards reforming Nigerian police and the nation's security apparatus.
We're not against policing in any way. We support it, and we commend the efforts of the men of the Nigerian police force as well. But this has to stop, and protesting against this does not in any way demonstrate us being against the institutional of the police, the institution. They are here to protect us, and we appreciate what they do, but we need more. They too need reformation.
The delegations advised the citizens to be calm, as the government is still looking inward towards prevailing lasting solution to security issues nationwide.
Let's cap it up with the reaction by the leadership of the National Assembly.
The protests have already yielded the desired results. First of all, they say Endsars. That was the beginning. SARS was ended not by the IGP. SARS was ended by the president himself. The president, President Muhammadu Buhari, made a statement, a presidential statement, and that will be the first time that any president will say end SARS. And SARS has ended. When you try to stop everybody from engaging in their lawful businesses, closing roads to markets and other economic places, we distract the economy of the country, and that is not the best way to go. Other Nigerians have legitimate rights to go on their lawful businesses without let or hindrance, and we cannot have that when the roads are blocked. So we don't want a situation where there will be a degeneration of law and order because somebody is blocked and he feels he must have his way. So we believe that withdrawing from this process at this moment is the right thing to do. Meanwhile, give us the opportunity to deal with matters that we have, as a government, agreed to handle.
I don't want our youth to lose the plot. They've done so well in terms of expressing their grievances. And the important thing is that government has heard you loud and clear. It's unfortunate what happened to the Osun State governor, and this is where I say we begin to lose the plot. We should not allow people to infiltrate what otherwise is a good cause. For whatever it's worth, trust government in what it has done now. It has ended SARS. Nobody can argue that. SARS is ended. It's apparently a police code anywhere in the world that you don't leave a vacuum. It has to be filled. And that's why they came up with SWAT. It's a complete departure from the way SARS was meant to operate. Let us remain focused. Let us stay on track. And the way to stay on track is to work with government.
That's the package on Diplomatic Ties today. Trust you had it insightful. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.